So game week 1 has finally come to an end, and it's time to start looking forward as Haaland plays Ipswich at home next week, and it'll be a very important week for both non-Haaland owners and Haaland owners. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I'll be discussing my game week 2 transfer plans along with some of my thoughts after game week 1. Be sure to skip in if you don't want to hear any of my thoughts in game week 1. I know a lot of people are just here for the team and some of the things I'm thinking in the future. The goal for this video is 300 likes. You absolutely smashed it last time, so it'll be much appreciated. Let's get straight into the video. Game week 1 was really nice to me. 1.2 million in the world. I know we're not looking into that too much, but 71 points, which I'm absolutely delighted with. Of course, no Haaland, so the structure of the team actually went quite well. I feel like we were quite unfortunate not to get returns from Bruno, who had 2 really good chances in that opening fixture versus Fulham. Of course, we seen the early fixture on Saturday, Jota, Salah and Trent absolutely killing it. 28 pointer from Salah, which I was delighted with. I was on a plane for that second half, so I landed to a lovely haul, but 3 great picks and I'm delighted I went that way. What I was very happy with is I was adamant at the start of the season to start with Liverpool's striker and Spurs' striker. And of course we didn't see Solanke return. We'll get onto that fixture in a sec, don't get me started, but I feel like he was good and he did get some chances. And the same with Jota. We've seen Jota get some solid minutes and Darwin didn't even enter onto the pitch. Trent was amazing. He clocked a 1 XGA, which means he was expected to get 1 solid assist. And I think a lot of that assist was made up from that Jota miss. So again, Jota coming up with chances, and when he gets chances, he likely converts them. So Barco we seen get benched, which was very unfortunate. Again, I'll hold my hands up on that one. I really expected him to start. But a comfortable win for Brighton, 3-0. João Pedro not involved in any of the goals, but again, I feel like they will come. He is, in my opinion, still their talisman. But yeah, he got subbed off early, but I don't mind too much for 5.5 million. I feel like they're happy to get minutes. But again, Barco, I'm not too worried about in terms of playing him on a week-to-week basis. He's my 4th defender, so we have Robinson coming in for him this week. And this week we were fortunate enough that Barco didn't get subbed onto the pitch, so we get the 2-pointer from Robinson. So yeah, 71 points all in all. Henderson, of course, with the 2-pointer. I don't know how to feel about that because I was so uncertain about keepers at the start of the season. I don't even think I'm too worried about it, and I feel like over the spell of maybe 5 to 10 games, Henderson will come up with the odd clean sheet. So let's move on to a Son and a Pedro Porro and Solanke. Son was disappointing, I have to say. I feel like Tottenham in general in that first half were quite good, honestly. Of course, that second half we turned off and I was absolutely fuming. But yeah, in general, Son wasn't great. Is it enough for me to go off him so early on? I don't think so. The reason I went with Son is for the spell of 1 to 5 fixtures, like I said. And of course, Saka banged, so it kind of hurts even more, but I'm happy to hold on to Son. Solanke, I feel like, was really good. He got in some really good areas, and for a debut, I was very impressed. He pressed very high and worked really hard. He had a good few chances as well. I know he had that diving header, and he had that one-on-one to keeper. If you'd even call that one-on-one, but very happy with Solanke, and Everton at home next week. I'm very happy to go into that week with him. Pedro Porro, he picked up a knock. I think he'll be okay. I feel like he was very dramatic, limping, and then he stayed on the pitch. We'll see. We'll get an update, I would say, before the game. But I think we're happy to hold on to him. And of course, he came up with a goal, which I was absolutely delighted with. Very good from Pedro Porro, and I know a lot of owners had him. But yeah, that's the team for this week. The only one we haven't talked about is maybe an Isaac, but not much to say on Isaac. Look, Newcastle are down to 10 men, and I know a lot of people captain him, so I'm not too worried about Isaac. And Nkunku as well. Nkunku with the early sub, I know it's probably surprising to see it before the 68th minute, but when you're down a goal or two, you probably want to keep most of your best players fit, so I can understand the substitution. So let's get on to some of next week's transfer plans. Before we get into my team, I said I'd talk about a few common players that people might be thinking about getting rid of or considering and not happy as an option. First, I would say Gerald Kwanzaa. I'm very surprised he got subbed at the 45-minute mark. Very unlucky for owners. But in general, I did think you probably expected him to be a rotation risk in the future. So I assume you went with a 4th defender. In that case, I would hold on to him, even with the price drop. But if you have him as your 3rd defender and you've no one else, I'd definitely get rid, and before that price drop. Another player is, of course, Barco. I assume Barco is probably your 4th or 5th defender, so I wouldn't worry about him too much. Unless you have no playing defenders, I'd hold on to him for sure. Ben Johnson, 4 million again. He didn't get too many minutes, but I think the other fullback that plays for Ipswich pulled up with an injury. So Johnson is definitely going to get minutes going forward. With the likes of an Nkunku, I would definitely hold on to him. What we've seen against City, I feel like it is a bit of an outlier game. You can't really judge him on that. It's probably the most difficult fixture behind Arsenal in terms of scoring. So I wouldn't worry too much about Nkunku. And he's a prime fixture this week against Wolves. Pedro Porro. So Porro picked up a bit of a knock. For me, I felt like he was a bit dramatic and he stayed on the pitch for a while, so I don't think it's anything too serious. Again, I would hold on to him until we get some further news, but I think, in my opinion, he should be okay to play versus Everton at home, which would be ideal. So next, is there anyone else? Not that I can think of. If there's anyone else, let me know in the comments. But here is how my team lines up for next week. So on goal, we've got Dean Henderson. No issue at all playing him at home to West Ham. Will he get a clean sheet? I'm unsure, but at 4.5 million, I'm happy to start any goalkeeper really. I wasn't too sure on anyone at the start of the season, but I'm happy to just see if Henderson over the spell of 5 to 10 games maybe get some clean sheets. Pedro Porro is next versus Everton at home. It's a very nice fixture, and I think he will play unless we get some confirmation in the future that he's going to be out. I'm happy to hold on to him. We've got Trent versus Brentford at home. A very nice fixture again, and if Brentford play a low block, Trent is the type of player that can penetrate balls through balls through their defence, and I'd be hopeful as a Trent owner going into this game week. Next we have Robinson at home to Leicester, an ideal fixture for Fulham, and I thought Robinson was really, really good versus United. He was getting forward quite a lot and chasing down a few balls, so I do really like Robinson going into this fixture. Next is Bruno Fernandes at Brighton away. Brighton look quite good, but I feel like Bruno could definitely do well this game. Like space will open up for United, and they'll just need to be clinical and convert their chances. It'll be interesting to see how Brighton sit up against a bigger team like United, but I think I'm hopeful as a Bruno owner. Next is Diogo Jota versus Brentford at home. Again, a very, very nice fixture for Jota, and I'm fairly hopeful of another start. Maybe he gets hooked a bit earlier this time around, but he looks quite fit and he is absolutely clinical. When Jota's on the pitch, he does seem to score nearly every single time. So let's see if Jota the Slotter can do it again. Next is Son versus Everton at home. Another player that I plan on holding on to. We'll get into some of my actual transfer plans in a second. But Everton at home is an ideal fixture for Spurs, and in my opinion, I think we do quite well against Everton. Definitely going to hold on to Son, I think. But for me, look, he is probably playing a bit wide, but I don't think Everton have a fullback, a fit fullback going into this fixture. So I'm hopeful as a Son owner. Again, it is a lovely fixture, and it's not just a Leicester fixture where we went Son over Saka. So next is Mohamed Salah, and the armband is currently on him. Again, things could change leading towards the deadline, but I'm fairly set on a Salah captaincy, I'm fairly sure. Again, Brentford at home. Salah wasn't great in that first half, but in that second half we've seen exactly what it's about, and there's no surprise that he came home with a goal and an assist. It's absolutely vintage Salah. What am I expecting for Salah? Hopefully get at least one return, somewhat match Haaland if he does bang. But yeah, very hopeful going into that game. Next is Nkunku versus Wolves away. Now I'm happy to start Nkunku, no problem. I benched him in the first fixture. Wolves away, I feel like Wolves aren't a great team. For me, what I'd like to see from Nkunku is if he played centrally. I would love if they start with Nkunku down the middle and Neto on the wing and Palmer on the right. I don't know how likely that is, but if I, as an Nkunku owner, could pick, that's what I would choose. Again, of course, there are people way above me that know way more about how Chelsea and how they want to play. But yeah, that's just my take. But yeah, delighted to go in to Wolves away with Nkunku. Does it put me off if he gets subbed at maybe the 70-minute mark again? Probably not. He's still getting up to Premier League match fitness, so I would probably still hold on to him. Next is Dominic Solanke versus Everton. Again, I think Solanke was great. He done everything you wanted from a striker. He pressed, he worked hard. He had a few chances now. He probably should have tucked one away, I would say. But again, he's brand new and it was his debut. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Of course, he's going to be on eggshells near the start and maybe have a few nerves. But I feel as soon as he gets that first goal, we'll see a confidence from Solanke. And the Spurs team in general, they're still a bit timid. So pick up a good result at Everton at home before the tougher fixtures in game week 3 and 4 where we play Newcastle away and of course Arsenal at home. But it will be important for Tottenham to get these 3 points. So I think the pressure will be on for them to score a few goals. Next we'll move on to Isak away at Bournemouth. Again, another player you'll almost forget about. You just leave him in your team and over a few fixtures he will return. Began an assist last week, which was not bad considering the 10 men. But yeah, delighted to start with that team. I think it's quite strong. 8 home fixtures, 3 away fixtures. And the 3 away fixtures are with some of the big hitters in the team. Who's on the bench? We have João Pedro versus United at home. He is kind of on my mind to start. We know United haven't been great in recent time, but I just don't see anyone who you'd bench him for. If he gets a haul, it is what it is. In my opinion, I'm playing my strongest team. If you disagree with me, let me know. But yeah, the rest of the bench is Ward, Barco and Johnson, who will be staying on the bench unless someone in my team is injured, like a Pedro Porro, who I could likely just transfer out. So let's get into some of my transfer plans. If I were to make transfers here, I would likely get rid of, or not get rid of, but try bring in a KDB or a Foden. Of course, that Ipswich at home fixture is the fixture us non-Haaland owners will be stressing about. And rightfully so. Haaland, I think you just need to accept, is probably going to get a brace or so. You just need to hope Salah does something in that fixture. But what would I do? So some of my options is a Son down to a De Bruyne, who I'll pull up here. So that'll leave us 0.5 in the bank. And of course, that Ipswich at home fixture is tasty. Who else could I go to? I could go to a Foden, but I'm not too worried, to be honest. Like, I think I would just rather hold on to Son and bank that transfer. Maybe I'm wrong in hindsight after that fixture. But yeah, I think the right play is to just hold on to a Son at home. Alternatively, what could I do? So I could keep I could keep Son in that position. And replace Bruno Fernandes. How would I do that? So if Pedro Porro is injured, I would take a risk and go to Rico Lewis, who I do think will probably get the next game. We don't know exactly on Walker's fitness. It is a short-term pick, and it leaves me definitely vulnerable in the future because Lewis is eventually going to get dropped, and that is another booked-in transfer for the future. And of course, you'd go from Bruno up to De Bruyne. But yeah, I don't quite like that, but that is my other option, and bring in 2 good players with an ideal fixture, and I have the perfect amount of money in the bank to do. So yeah, of course it is attacking that Ipswich at home fixture, but I think I'm fairly happy going into the game week with just this team and bank with the transfer. I know I wasn't too high on holding on to the 5 free transfers going into the season. But if it's going to look that way, I think I'm happy to, of course, try keep as many of them as possible. So that's the team. Let me know in the comments what you think. And of course, the goal is 300 likes this video. So if we can hit that, that would be great. And I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. So that's me for this video. And I'll see you in the next.